Testing, testing. Good evening. I call to order this meeting of the Hermosa Beach Public Works Commission on January 21st, 2026. It's now 6:05 p.m. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll go ahead and lead us in that. Please rise as you are able, hand over heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Engineer Nguyen, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Commissioner Dunbabin. Commissioner Breton.
Here.
Commissioner Hayes.
Here.
Vice Chair Legvold.
Here.
And Chairperson Grethen.
Here.
We have a quorum.
So now we're up to item 4, which is the approval of the agenda, and I would like to go ahead and propose one modification to the agenda. If you see at the end of the agenda, we have item 13, future agenda items, and then item 14 is Public Works Director Report, followed by adjournment. I propose that we move item 13 to just before adjournment, after the director's reports. That way we will have gone through the entire meeting before we consider any potential future agenda items. I'll go ahead and move that as the chair myself. Do I have a second for that? Thank you, Commissioner Hayes, for that second.
Motion to move item 13 after item 14. Commissioner Dunbabin.
Oh, yes.
Commissioner Breton.
Yes.
Commissioner Hayes.
Yes.
Vice Chair Legvold.
Yes.
And Chair Grethen.
Aye.
Motion passes.
And then before we go any further, I just want to acknowledge that Happy New Year to everyone. And
Yes.
as our annual rotation, I am now rotating into the chair of the position of the chair. Commissioner Tor Legvold to my left is the vice chair who would run the meeting if I'm unable. I may refer to you simply as commissioner just to keep things simple and consistent. I also want to acknowledge that while I did chair 5 years ago for a year, unfortunately, for a lot of reasons, that was during COVID. So this will be a new experience for me in terms of running the meeting from the dais. So I was thinking about how it might be different, and I think the main thing is I'm going to need to be kind of proactive and get the hang of surveying the dais to see where my colleagues may have input. And so if you need my attention, you can always say Chair Graythan, or something as simple as question, meaning may I ask a question, or comment, may I make a comment. So hopefully we'll all get the hang of it as we go. So just a little protocol there I wanted to get in. So that does bring us to item 5, which is announcements of upcoming city events. Anyone? Commissioner Britton?
Yes, I do. Women's Club does a lot of fundraising and money that goes back to the city, and one of our big fundraisers is an evening at the Company Magic Club. So if you donate $20 to the Women's Club, you get in free to the Company Magic Club on Thursday, February 26th. So I have these flyers. This is first of all, it's a discount to get in the Comedy Magic Club, and also the money goes to one of our charities that we support. So I have flyers related to that. This is also for the public, posted on our webpage and Facebook.
Thank you for that. Anyone else?
And if I may just add something else to Jan's, is that if you do want to go and want to pay the $20, you can also pay it by Zelle. There's a Zelle number.
Okay, let's move on to item 6, presentations, of which there are none tonight. That brings us to item 7, which is general public comment. This is the time for members of the public to address the Public Works Commission on items within the Commission's jurisdiction. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. We generally do not take action tonight based on the input, but we do have the option of considering future agenda items based on that later on. So, Engineer Nguyen, let's see. First of all, I see no one present in the chambers. I now open public comment. I see no one present in chambers. Do we have any hands raised on Zoom?
No, Chair, we do not have any person looking to comment on Zoom.
Okay, so there are none, and I'll close public comment. That brings us to item 8, which has 4 sub-items. So 8A, response to public comments. That really doesn't apply. Brief announcements, if you have anything that tends to be more city or public works related. Anybody? Seeing none. 8C, reports on liaison or subcommittees or other activities and meetings attended. And then the last of the 4 is 8D, brief comments and matters within the subject matter jurisdiction of the commission. Anyone have anything there? I will bring up one thing just to acknowledge. At the January 13th City Council meeting, there was an item that was heard. There is a commissioner's handbook that's in the process of being developed by city staff. And so that was on the agenda. There were some public comments made on that. The council listened and will be responding to some of those. And it will be coming back to council. I just wanted to make sure that all my colleagues are aware of that activity. If you are not, you're free to go look at the agenda and see the draft handbook or any of the comments. If you want to discuss it with me, I'd be happy to do so. But I just want to make sure everyone was aware of that.
And if I may comment on that.
Yes, please.
I think at the meeting, but I'm really not sure, were they going to ask each commission to put together their comments about the handbook? Do you remember that, Joe, or?
I believe it's going to go back to City Council for further discussion.
Okay, thank you.
I'm pretty sure that it's not going to go to the individual commissions. I'm not sure whether they will actively solicit any more or any comments from commissioners. I have reason to believe that may not actually happen. So that's all the other reason. If you're interested, you could always provide input, at any point. If you don't want to wait till it comes back, it's your prerogative. The information is there. If you do have comments, this is being headed up through the clerk's office, I believe, but at the same time, our clerk did leave. We're in somewhat of a transition. It'd probably be a good idea if you do have any written comments to be sure to copy Joe and probably the city manager would be my recommendation there. So I think that covers that, and I think that covers all of item 8. That brings us to item 9, which is the consent calendar. We have one item on consent, which are the action meeting minutes from the November 19th Public Works Commission meeting. So at this point, if anyone has any potential changes to the minutes or believes we need to discuss it at all, you are welcome to pull the item. So I will look around and see if anyone needs to do that.
I move to approve the consent calendar.
Do I have a second?
Second. Second.
May we have a vote, please?
Yes, motion to approve the consent calendar. Commissioner Breton?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunbarton,
I-
sorry. Commissioner Breton?
Yes.
Commissioner Hayes?
Yes.
Vice Chair Legvold?
I'll abstain. I was not present at that meeting.
And Chair Grethen?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, so item 10 is moot. That's if we had removed anything. Item 11, public hearings, we have none tonight. Item 12, matters for commission consideration, we have none tonight. And then that will bring us, based on the revised agenda, that'll bring us to item 14, which is the Public Works Director's Report. It has 3 parts to it: the Director's Update, the Activity Reports, and the CIP Report. So we'll start with 14A, and Mr. Director, could we please get started on that report, please?
All right, thank you, Chairperson Grathan. Commissioners, I have a few short updates for 14A to share with you tonight. First, I want to give an update. In September, you may have remembered we brought an item to talk about the tree replanting in Valley Park and the Greenbelt and elsewhere, where we solicited commission input, community input on the replanting. This is the removal of 26 trees and replacement with 52. We subsequently brought that item to Parks Commission or Community Research, the Parks Commission in October, and then that also went to City Council after, and they did approve our planting plan. And so staff is in process of working with a contractor to get quotes and get a contract in place to purchase and plan on planting those trees sometime in the coming months. But that schedule is still pending. That was at the December 9th meeting that council approved that. I also want to give an update that at the December 9 meeting, there was discussion at City Council to decommission the subcommittee to review the roles and responsibilities of the Public Works Commission. We had discussed that at our last meeting, but that subcommittee has been decommissioned. And with that, I know City Engineer Saad Malam does have one update to give on a upcoming utility project.
Hi, good evening, Chairperson and Commissioners. One quick update for a major utility project upcoming. We had a pre-construction meeting with Cal Water for another water main replacement project. This project is slated to be along Aviation between Aubrey Court and Corona. So Aviation between PCH and Prospect. It'll also include water main replacements on 9th Street and 10th Street, as well as Owasso. Owasso between Aviation and 9th, and then 9th and 10th Street between Owasso and Prospect. It is going to be quite impactful as aviation is a major thoroughfare. We've worked extensively with Cal Water to review their plans to get a manageable traffic control plan in place, which will include CMS message boards to announce to the public of the upcoming project, and it's slated to start February 9th.
What are going to be the hours of construction?
Construction hours are 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Okay.
It's going to be outside the main.
And how much of the road are they going to be tearing up?
So the main line alignment on Aviation is along the southern portion. It's in the eastbound travel lane. They are going to be connections, service connections that do connect on the north side and the south side, but the main alignment is running east-west along Aviation, again, between Aubrey Court and Corona. On the eastbound lane, though, there will be interruptions crossing Aviation north and south. Two-way traffic will be maintained at all times on Aviation. Some of the side streets, they are much smaller. When work does commence on 9th and 10th Street and Owasso, portions of those streets will be fully closed with detours in place when that work goes on. Notifications specific to those streets will be sent out when those portions are phased out.
And can you remind us what is the city's policy on pavement replacing?
Pavement replacement, we do have a revised trench detail plan, standard detail, which calls for full lane replacements on portions of trench that are excavated, and that's for asphalt restoration. Concrete restoration, it's 18 inches outside of the trench that needs to be fully restored. Portion of this project will be affecting pavement moratoria area along Bonnie Bray and Owasso that were paved, I believe, 5 years ago. They're in the last year of the pavement moratorium, so I believe there's about 20 feet into each of those streets that Cal Water will need to install new main line and tie into their old lines. Those portions will be fully paved from curb to curb as part of our existing pavement moratorium.
So Aviation is 2 lanes each direction,
Aviation's
most places, right?
2 lanes each direction and a parking lane.
So is the work in the rightmost lane, or is it in the
It's in the
left?
rightmost lane for
Okay.
the most part.
And my question is irrelevant.
Yeah, and just a quick follow-up, since you did mention restoration. We've coordinated this work with Cal Water to proceed our major pavement, annual pavement project for a CIP project for the city. So we're anticipating as soon as Cal Water is done, start of summer, we are anticipating repaving all of Aviation following Cal Water's work.
So why wouldn't we take the free half of a road?
Well, they are going to be paving not quite half. It'll be just one street, one
Okay.
lane.
So you're going to do the other, if it's 4 lanes, they're going to do 1, you're going to do the other 3?
We are going to be. It'll be a weird. It's going to be a unique situation. Their lane that they'll restore is going to be right in the middle of the parking lane, and the other lane there'll still be seams, which is kind of what we want to avoid when we're doing any of these pavement projects. So if we do, likely the city is going to be repaving the entire portion, including the portions that Cal Water has paved. Their pavement restoration is going to be, I believe, a 2-inch grind and cap, and ours might be a little bit more extensive than that, but nonetheless, the entire portion is slated to be paved.
Okay. And then, aside from that project, the project that's going on Horondo and Monterey, same thing. It'll be a full lane, and that's only 1 lane each direction.
Correct.
So it'll be from the center.
That'll be from the center
Divider.
lane all the way to the curb, correct.
Okay. I've lived over there. People have been asking me.
And that project is, I believe it's still a couple months to completion, so there will be some interruptions there. It will be sometime prior to the full restoration of Monterey.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions on the Cal Water project?
Yeah, I'm just
Commissioner
curious, the estimated duration of the,
The schedule currently is slated to be completed by May, so it's about 4 months.
okay, thank you.
And I had a question, I don't know if it's particularly on the director's report, but the tree removal in Valley Park, I noticed that during the holidays, a tree had fallen down into Gould area. And was that one of the trees that was scheduled to be removed?
Yeah, thank you for the question. No, it was not. We had a lot of rain and heavy winds
Right.
in that tree succumbed to those issues. We did have our landscape contractor send their arborists out to do an additional inspection of the park, and then they're working on some recommendations to see if there's any additional trimming. I know there was some added trimming that they did do in the park, and then we're also continuing to look at those trees to see if there's anything additional that we need to do, but it was lost during that windy night.
Yeah, okay. I just wasn't sure if it was one of the scheduled ones. Another question that I had was that I was watching a city council meeting, I believe. The Community Resources Department is now called the Parks and Recreation Department. Is that correct?
Yes, that's in process.
Okay. That was it. Thank you.
But the council did approve it, I believe, correct? Okay.
Yeah.
Would you care to proceed, Todd? Or Joe?
Yeah, yeah. I think we have just activity reports, and then we'll move into CIP, I believe.
Okay. Does anyone have any comments or questions about the November and December activity report?
Well, yes. The December one, there were some changes in it, and I just wanted, if Andrew could tell us the changes for our audience.
Yes, we did update the service request of the December activity report. I believe the original report, we might have ran amount of survey requests over like 2 months period, but the updated one shows the amount of survey requests completed in December. So we just update there.
Thank you for the opportunity to acknowledge that update to our agenda package.
And I think that was the only thing I had on that one.
Okay, so that'll bring us to 14C, the CIP status report. So I believe staff will have a presentation on the items that they wish to highlight. And then after that, we can go around and see if any commissioners want to initiate discussion on any other projects that had not been covered, including anything in our monthly report that we get. Take it away, whoever's presenting. And I will acknowledge that this is our city engineer, Saad Malim.
Thank you, Chairperson Graythan. Again, good evening, Chairperson Graythan, Commissioners. I'll do a quick update for a CIP status update. It's going to be a little bit more extensive than we had last time because we're covering through December and the start of the year. There's been quite a bit of progress and movement for our CIP. We do have a number of CIP projects that have been recently completed. These include CIP 421, the annual sewer improvements project, CIP 699, Lot C elevator modernization project, which did have some hiccups in terms of getting inspection approval from the state, but as of right now, it's been completed. CIP 633, which is base 3 electrical improvements. Our CSOs are happy to be back in the building, which is currently in use, as well as CIP 109, which was our utility box wrappings project. So all 4 have been completed with notice of completions being sent out and recorded. Any questions for completed projects?
Commissioner
I
Dunbavin,
have some questions.
on these projects.
Particular ones. On the elevator, 699, does that also include the other repairs that are going to have to be done in parking lot C, or is that just the elevator?
This one was just the elevator. It was an offshoot project for as part of a larger CIP 699. The elevator project, modernization project, was an offshoot following the elevator remediation project that we had done prior to this. So this is limited to only the elevator. Improvements within the elevator with the new control panel, retrofits of the elevator, a lot of deferred maintenance that was just not done in recent years. So we have essentially what is a new elevator with new panels on all sides and new control panel and new buttons inside as well.
The deferred projects, do they become part of a CIP, or are they just being, or is just the parking lot being repaired?
Which deferred projects?
Well, because of the wires that were from they were having problems with the concrete and the wires that went into,
Yeah, let
The
me try to
concrete.
answer that question. Thank you. So to clarify a little bit, CIP 699 includes all the repairs for Lot C. Phase 1. There's a deferred Phase 2 project that's also in the CIP that is partially funded, but 699 includes elevator modernization and structural repairs. We spun off elevator modernization because it was a specialty. We bid that out separately to get that going. There was long lead times for the elevator equipment while we finished the structural design and then brought in the contractor to do the structural repairs, which is also underway. Saad has a more detailed slide for that coming up in the presentation. We'll go through that. Separately, I'm going to highlight there is another CIP for Phase 2 that was intended to look at Phase 2 structural improvements, and what Saad might explain a little bit more, and we talked to council about at the last meeting, is that we're able to actually advance a lot of those structural repairs earlier, but there are mechanical system upgrades that are still needed in that facility. So while we're doing a lot of this work in Lot C, we're still not done with it. There is another project coming behind this that we're going to have to move into design upon completion, and we're happy to talk about that a little bit more as
and
well.
you're going to talk about it later in the meeting. My other question was on the 633, the electrical improvements. When is that building going to be open?
Oh, it's been open since December. Yeah.
And so why is the city still using parking space over the community center for the employees of that particular
There was
office?
a period of time that we had to move everybody in, so the building was reopened around December. We did have some cleaning and some adjustments that we needed to make in the facility to move people back in. But the parking, what we had done is on Valley Drive, there were dedicated spaces for the CSOs and city staff. We temporarily turned those over to the community. Anyone could park there during the construction. We reverted that back, and so staff is moving out of community center parking, moving over there. So that should either be completed by now or is in transition and should be completed soon for all the movement.
Okay, thank you. That was it.
Next slide, please.
Okay. So we do have one project that's near completion, which is CIP 630, which is a community center gas repair project. This project was slightly delayed due to some unforeseen abatement work that need to be done prior to penetrations through the roof. Currently, this project is slated for completion in February 6th. Any questions for this project? Okay. Moving along, I want to highlight some construction projects that are starting soon. To begin with, CIP 164, which is the Hermosa Avenue Green Streets project. This project is in conjunction with cities of Redondo Beach and Torrance. The portions that were within cities of Torrance and Redondo Beach did get delayed slightly, and we'd initially requested work to be done in Hermosa after the busy summer seasons. That work is moving along. Hermosa Avenue Green Street projects, just to clarify, includes permeable gutter improvements along Hermosa Avenue, as well as improvements along 2nd Street, 6th Street, as you see on the map here. Another project that's moving along with the start of construction is the Greenwich Village North Undergrounding Project. Up till this point, city was reviewing submittals, especially for some of the long lead items, including underground vaults for Edison. That project is started to move into hard construction with vehicles, on Hermosa Avenue, also starting February 2nd, as traffic control plans are approved for that work. And lastly, CIP 685, the Real-Time Crime Center project, is also starting soon. This project, up till now, has also been in the submittal phase. This project, just to remind commissioners, is a federally funded grant project. There are very stringent grant requirements for this, including some Buy America provisions, which we're working with the contractor to meet, to make sure to meet and grant waivers for as needed. So that's where this project is currently at.
I've got a question on, back to 164 Hermosa Avenue, Green Streets. I noticed that there's still some activity on Hernando for the LA County Sewer Project. Do we expect to not have any conflicts with that, or is that a possibility?
Correct. We're expecting, I mean, we've been coordinating with these projects. There's also another project on Hernando, not with LA County Sanitation District, with LA County Public Works, that's replacing some vault lids. So coordination for any of these projects that are kind of nearby is something that we do account for internally, including any impacts, specifically traffic impacts from the combination of the Green Streets project as well as the LA County Sanitation project. So there's going to be some overlap. It's not going to be something where the projects are going to be fully, the overlap is going to be more so traffic detours overlaps, but it's something that we are accounting for.
So you did answer my question, and it turns out that this is yet a different county project with a different part of the county, the vault project.
The vaults towards the easternmost side of Hernando is LA County Public Works.
Okay.
And then LA County Sanitation District is starting from Hermosa up Hernando and moving. I believe they're on Monterey now. So their work on Hernando is complete. They're on Monterey. There's a lot going on.
There it is. Thanks for clearing all that up, but of course, I'll leave that to you to keep it coordinated. Thank you. I think
Any
we're
other
ready to move
questions?
on.
Okay. I'd like to give you some updates for major projects that are currently under construction. CIP 619 Kelly Courts Improvement Project is moving along. We've currently completed a lot of the hardscape work, all the demo work's been completed. The installation of the new Musco spotlights is also completed. As you can see, some of the fencing work is currently underway. Fencing all along the courts, between the batting cages, along the border with lawn bowling site, as well as along Valley Boulevard, Valley Ave is also underway. Remainder of this project that's still pending is court resurfacing, as well as installation of the court material, which is mainly basketball equipment, as well as the new tennis and pickleball court net equipment.
So in the written report, it said that this was delayed due to some unforeseen conditions. What were the
Yes,
unforeseen?
there are a number of unforeseen conditions, some of which are just, so within the walkway that you see here that's between the courts and the batting cages, there were a number of unknown irrigation and other utility electrical lines that need to be rerouted. The major unforeseen condition that we're currently dealing with the contractor to get addressed is half of the court, the pickleball and tennis court portion, which was originally assumed to be concrete, like the half on basketball, was found to be concrete overlaid with about 2 inches of asphalt, which is complicating the actual resurfacing installation for the courts. The asphalt does have some cracks that are mirroring through the concrete. We're trying to address what's going to be the most economic and as well as feasible long-term solution for this. For this reason, we are also going to council to seek additional funding to increase the project contingency that we've encountered with some of these unforeseen conditions.
Okay, and then the other question I have is, what is this picture on the left?
Oh, I am sorry. That picture on the left should not be there.
Okay.
And actually, I think you want me to jump inside. That was on the prior slide. I think we meant to move that over and for a real-time crime center update.
I assumed it was something like that. I just,
Right. And I think, and I'll give a quick update on that and just jump in and trade off. I think that project, which we did award a construction contract for, and that's for the real-time crime center where we have outside grant funding to advance it. There is some delay in that project with government shutdown that just opened up several months ago. There is some delay in getting responses back from the federal government. One of the big issues that we do need to make is Buy America requirements. And so we are working on Buy America waiver requests through the funding agency, which is time consuming and is going to add some delay to the schedule. So right now, that's where we are, is working through those waivers. So the schedule is still a little bit TBD and is going to continue to be updated as we get more input from the COPS office that manages that grant.
And then getting back to the Kelly courts, if the schedule is up to date, it looks like it's not a large hit to the schedule, even though you're going to be requesting more funds. I don't know, within less than a month, perhaps.
Correct, yeah. The initial completion timeline was February. The completion timeline that we're looking at right now is about end of March.
And that is going to council at the next meeting?
It's going to council at the next meeting. We are still exploring the best option for, primarily for the half of the pickleball courts, tennis courts, to find what's going to be the best solution for that going forward.
So you actually have two unforeseen conditions then, correct? I mean,
Two major ones, I'd say. There's been a number of other ones. As the contractor was digging up portions of this walkway and portions of the new fencing, there were a number of footings, unknown footings, not having to do with previous fencing and previous lighting, that also need to be demolished and taken off site. Some of those were rather deep, 4 to 8 feet or so. So there's been other unforeseen conditions that we wouldn't have been able to account for.
okay.
Yeah, I'm going to add in here too, and just to add, I think one of the challenges our engineering team faces is the lack of reliable as-built information for all of our facilities. And so we try to do what we can to get as much information as we're putting the design together, but it's something that we continue to encounter as we dig up anything and start to renovate older facilities. And this isn't a new facility, this is a renovation of something that's there. And so there are a lot of things that just remain undocumented until we dig and find it.
And I don't suppose we don't know what we don't know kind of thing, so we just encounter them as we do, I guess.
Yeah, especially those, especially items that are subsurface. That's what we'd have to rely on, would be the as-bills, to have good information on that. Yeah.
Okay. So a new type of challenge. Thanks for letting us know about that. Please proceed.
Moving on, the other major project that's currently under construction, I'd like to provide some updates for CIP 699, which is inclusive of all the improvements at the parking structure at Lot C. We mentioned the completion of the elevator modernization project. That was an offshoot of this. Just want to give a brief overview since our last meeting. There was a full structure closure for the parking structure on November 26th. This was due to a number of PT tendons, post-tension tendons in the structure that support the structure, and the increment at which they were found to be broken. Additional PT tendon repair was started in mid-December or so. While the structure was fully shut down, we did engage the contractor to advance other repairs, as Director San Clemente had mentioned, that were slated to be part of the Phase 2 repairs. So upon the completion of this project, all structural repairs associated with the parking structure are going to be completed, including ones that were originally slated for Phase 2, as well as electrical improvements, and there's a sump pump on the bottom floor of the structure that Beach House leases out. While the structure was closed off, as you can see, there's been a number of, as part of the construction, as part of the demo, there's been a number of holes that have been opened up. The decking was a bit thinner than we had anticipated. All of this, if we move forward with just opening up the structure without doing an extensive painting of the structure, would have left the structure in an aesthetic condition that wouldn't have been as appealing. So we did reach out and we got change order from the contractor to complete a full painting of the structure, including all internal walls, beams, ceilings, as well as around the elevator, as well as some of the external steel facade members. That inclusive of that painting work that was approved by council with additional funding. The schedule to complete the parking lot project and have a full opening of the project is anticipated by the end of March. And within the next couple of weeks, at the start of February, we're anticipating a partial reopening of the first 1.5 levels of the parking garage.
Questions? So you did some additional structural type work that would have been part of phase 2, and you're doing the painting.
Correct.
So I gather that since, I mean, not to break it down to the exact dollar, but it looks like for the most part, you may have taken the existing contingency to cover some of that additional structure work, and then got a little more for the painting is kind of what it looks like.
Correct.
Is
That was
roughly what-
that was the idea, and the other main the main consideration that we had was with the parking structure being completely closed, we didn't want to come back with some of these improvements that could have been done, that could be done at the same time, incorporating contingency, especially something like painting, which would again affect much of the parking. So the goal was to complete a lot of that work that would be impactful to parking and get that taken care of while the structure's been closed.
And thank you, because I also did want to say that, you know, it looks to me like you really made the best of a situation, and, you know, it's a corny expression, but it looks like a little bit of lemonade from lemons here. You know, you had the opportunity, you're going to be down anyway, so you took advantage. So sounds like you were working smart there, so I appreciate that.
I did have a question on the, just knowing that $699 includes all the new construction. Was it originally that way, or was it originally only meant to repair the elevator? Or was, I'm trying to remember if parking lot C, if it was just for elevator repair or to do everything.
Right. It was both. So this is one of these projects that spun off from an older inspection report, I believe it was 2018 or so, that we had, and it was not advancing, and we tried to advance the high priority improvements. And so the report was done. It split things out knowing that there were some big costs associated with all the repairs that needed to be done. And so what we tried to do is advance medium and high priority structural repairs. And we'd always envisioned that there would be a second phase where those lower medium priority repairs would follow once we had additional funding to do it, because we didn't believe at the time we had sufficient funding to do both phases at once. What we're able to do is advance elevator structural repairs, but there is more that needs to be done. And so, like I said, I think we've isolated it now to mechanical system updates and electrical updates. But what I will say is that even when we're done with this and we finish phase 2, which still needs more funding, we will have to get it into a routine cycle for additional inspections. We'll never be done. There will be another period where we have to do a more comprehensive inspection. This should buy us a few years, but we will have to do that and then get into a more routine maintenance plan. So I think, as Commissioner Grayson said, I think we're able to take advantage and get a little bit more done with the shutdown to take advantage of it. But we got more to do.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'll just do a little more cheerleading here. I watched the city council treatment of this item, and the mayor asked a lot of probing questions, and even though it was fairly detailed, I thought where you eventually got with the question was trying to see if you had a handle on some of the root causes of what happened with the tenants. There was the discussion of the seepage and now covering, sealing the top of the deck and everything. So I thought that was constructive, gave some confidence that we have a handle on understanding what happened and how to prevent it. So kudos for that as well.
Totally agree.
Mm-hmm. And the picture on the bottom left actually shows a portion of the structure, the bottom 1.5 levels, that includes the traffic coding as well as the new striping that's in. So yeah, the contractor's making a lot of leeway on this project, and we're trying to take advantage of having it open and taking advantage of the contractor being able to include additional resources to move things along more quickly. All right. Next, I'd like to highlight some projects that are moving along in final design. These should be slated to be put out to bid within the next month or two. So all three of these projects, CIP 626, which is the annual CDBG, not annual, but the CDBG sidewalk improvements project. Usually we do this on an alternate year basis. With constraints to the funding that we get from CDBG, which is the Community Development Block Grant. CIP 107, which is a new annual project for the annual slurry seal of selected streets within the city. And then CIP 504, which is a playground equipment replacement project, all of which are in final design and should be moving along to bid and construction within the coming months.
Can you talk about how you go about selecting which streets get slurry seal and which streets get part of the annual street improvement program?
Of course. So both projects for the annual street improvement program and the annual slurry seal project are dependent on the pavement condition index that we have for the city. The portions in the pavement condition index, the street segments that are not quite poor enough yet, that are within the 60 range out of 100, those are usually slated to get slurry sealed. We get the most out of it in that range where you slurry seal at that time, and that avoids a much larger repair for annual replacement later on. So primarily, the streets, the worse off streets are ones that are slated to get full repavement, whether it's grind and cap or full remove and replacement as part of the overall annual street replacement project.
So, and I just want to throw something out there. When you eventually go to contract on this, I would anticipate when you go to council, somebody's going to say, similar question, how did you pick these streets? And then the next question is going to be, did the Public Works Commission look at this? Mm-hmm. And so I don't know if it, if somebody wanted to see what streets are being sealed, how would they find that out?
So this was, in the last two Public Works Commission meetings, we did present these proposed streets. Those proposed streets for both the annual slurry seal project as well as the annual street improvement project have not changed. We are happy to provide that information to the commission once again.
You're answering the question. I'm just kind of anticipating what council is going to say. And, they don't think it's important that we coordinate with them on how we operate, so much so that they disbanded our committee, but they tend to ask questions like that, so.
The other thing I'll add too is that staff does put quite a bit of time kind of thinking through how to do these streets. As Saad mentioned earlier, he kind of talked about all the coordination we're doing with all the utility companies. And so there is a kind of juggling a lot of different schedules and trying to coordinate as much as we can. And so some of these are planned around things that are coming up. We're also trying to do segments that make sense. Some of them are connected, and we don't want to go all over the city, but there's a lot of need. And so we did have to come up with what reasonably makes sense to put in there. And so it's a bit of an art as well, but there is a need, and it's something we haven't done in many years. So I'm just happy that we're finally getting going to do this to try to stretch some extra life out of the pavement.
No, I think it's great. Thanks.
Thank you.
And I'll hand it over to Director San Clemente for the rest.
All right, a few more detailed updates. So I want to give an update for one that's in preliminary design, our gateway and wayfinding signage project. So the CIP 111. This project does have really three different elements to it. This has been programmed in the CIP for a couple years now, but really just at a conceptual design level only. It includes replacement of the old marquee sign with electronic sign, as well as gateway signage around the periphery of the city, and then looking at downtown wayfinding signage. We have a pretty big update on it. The December 9 council meeting, former Mayor Chuck Sheldon and his wife Missy made a generous donation to the city of $500,000 towards the implementation of this project, with the preference of that funding going towards the implementation of electronic sign and any remaining funding to go towards the gateway signage. So that does plug a major hole. It's to be determined if that's going to fund the entire project, as we only had a limited amount of funding available for the concept only, but it does give us ability to advance some key elements. There is a prior $50,000 donation from the Chamber of Commerce that was made, I believe, in 2014. It's an older donation. We are working with the Chamber to see if those funds could be redirected. Originally, it was intended also to go to the electronic sign. We're looking to see if there's flexibility in that donation to possibly go to the downtown wayfinding and the gateway signs, so we have more flexibility as a whole for the project. We're currently in preliminary design, and they're in our schedule. You'll notice on our tentative schedule, what we have done is we've kind of extended some additional phases into the schedule. So we had planned on doing conceptual design over the next several months anyway, as part of our tentative schedule that we presented to council last year. So what I've simply done is just extended that, and we will have to look as we go into the next fiscal year of where things do fall against priorities. But it is something that we're in preliminary design, and we're trying to flesh out all the permitting needs. It will require, the electronic sign alone will require Caltrans and likely Planning Commission approval, as well as council approval for all these elements. We're hoping to bring something to City Council in the coming months with some high-level concepts to get some initial feedback, and then we'll go from there. So there'll be more updates as we go forward.
Any questions on this?
I would just like to offer another thank you to Chuck and Missy Sheldon for their $500,000 donation.
Sure.
He's a former mayor, and I just think it was just such a wonderful gift to the city.
So I got a
Thank you, Sheldon.
question.
That was it.
Okay. Question and a comment. So I did note that you extended the schedule out and updated it. And so given that there's this is accelerated in some sense, do we have a feel for if the acceleration of this may displace any other schedule items, or will you make a fuller assessment before the study session and handle it at that time?
It's a good question. I would say, I don't know if I'd classify it as an acceleration. I think we had planned staff time to advance the initial concepts, and I think that's what we're doing right now. And we had always envisioned to bring this out in the coming months to the community, City Council, and community for input. And so I think that part of the schedule doesn't change. I think where it changes as we get into the new fiscal year, where we've had to do some extension, and there's definitely more workload attached to this. The permitting could be complicated, and it could be lengthy, particularly with Caltrans. The biggest concern is the proximity of the digital sign with relation to the traffic signal at Pier and PCH. There'll be some work to do with their traffic engineers to get that permitted, as well as any potential permitting through our Planning Commission. So these are all getting fleshed out, and I think as we get into the next budget cycle and we come up to CIP study session, I think we'll be taking a closer look at the sequencing of projects in the next fiscal year. I think as there are a few projects that we've shifted over time. I think, for example, Lot C Phase 2 has moved out because Lot C Phase 1 is not completed. Kelly Courts has added a month. And as we do these projects, we do make small adjustments to the schedule, and we have to look at the workload balancing as we get into the new fiscal year. And so that will be something we'll bring to City Council for consideration as we're taking a look at what are the priorities for the coming year.
So before I come back to this project, I will, acknowledge that you have made some 1 or 2 months adjustments here and there, which is just kind of keeping updated, but nothing that's terribly alarming in my view anyway. I think you talked about not to put words in your mouth, but community engagement on the sign project, especially the main sign there at the community center. I think it's understood, but this is obviously going to be a sort of high visibility thing, literally, right there in a prominent spot. And I think there is some history on this over the last, I don't know, decade or so. And some people may have different views and opinions about what they're looking for. So I think that as much as we appreciate the Sheldon's donation and that they'll probably have some say in this does belong to all of us. So by all means, let's figure out what the people want. I think for fear of getting too deep in the weeds, does it blend in with the area, with the community center? Is this a big commercial monstrosity? Is it civic oriented versus commercial? Is it tasteful? So how's it going to be used? So by all means, stick with it on the engagement part of this, as I think you will. So thanks for letting me encourage you on that. And I think that's all.
Any more questions on
that.
this slide?
Any more slides or?
I got a couple more. City Yard. So at our last city council meeting, we gave a pretty big update on CIP 615. On September 9, City Council directed staff to release the RFQ, or request for qualifications, for the owner representative services. This is our advisory services to help really advance this project on a more expedited fashion. Staff has been very busy advancing these steps. We got our statements of qualifications in October. We reviewed these in detail, conducted interviews with all the top firms in November, and then we made a recommendation just at the January 13th City Council meeting, where we awarded the contract to Cumming Management Group for the owner's services. Contract was signed this week. We gave them an NTP, and we're already advancing on some early elements. But there's a lot of work to do in the coming months. So give it a little bit of an overall of what we're looking at. We've kind of outlined, a rough 2-year pre-construction phase to get to that construction point. There are some very key critical path steps that we need to do to get this moving. And so some of the first tasks that Cumming Group will be tasked with is helping us get the environmental piece moving. There are some older environmental assessments, CEQA analyses that were done for that site. We need to update them and get a handle on what is the environmental permitting, testing, permitting, and abatement requirements on that site. We also need to bring in some initial architectural help to really work on feasibility and programming of the site. What is the project? How big is it? Help us really clarify what the potential cost is going to be and what the timeline is going to be to move this ahead. And once we have more information on environmental requirements, project programming, they'll help us build a schedule, a rough budget, and then we can start to think about how we're going to deliver this project, whether it's design build, design bid build, or other method, which our goal is to try to bring to City Council sometime in the summer. And this is the preliminary schedule that Cumming Group helped us advance. I apologize if it's small to see in the screen, but the red bar on the top is the environmental phasing. The first step is we have to prepare a request for proposals to bring in the environmental assessment firm to help us do that evaluation in the CEQA permitting effort. That's going to take several months to do at a minimum. So step one is to get the RFP out and make that selection. Simultaneously, we'll work on trying to select an architect to come in to do that early programming effort. That's the other red bar on the bottom. We're likely to use on-call architectural services, but we may also go to RFP for it. That's something that we're working on with Cumming Group to see who's best suited to help us out for that piece. This is all working towards that delivery method, which is in orange, and sometime in the summer, coming back to City Council with for direction on really where to move in terms of delivery and provide more information on schedule and budget and things like that. But that's the general overall schedule. So any questions on City Yard, I'm happy to answer.
Looks good.
I'll just say I appreciate the way you've broken this out because there are some multiple disciplines involved in this. And so, this is a case where, you just need, it's complex enough that we need to see something like this. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, in this schedule, like I said, it's tentative. It's based on little information that we have to go on. So I think the key is to push these critical steps and get to that decision point. The schedule that we outlined here shows a design bid build process over the next 2 years. But the decision point in the summer could change what this looks like if we decide to go design build. The bars are going to change a little bit. We don't believe that the overall duration is going to change substantially, but once again, we're going to come back sometime in the summer with probably a much more detailed update on where these items are, what the actual durations are going to be, and hopefully a lot more decisions that we can put in front of council to make to keep it moving forward. But we have to get the first critical path steps done. And then I'm going to move in. The last update is on the pier that I want to give a pretty big update on as well. CIP 623. Over the past more than a year or so, we've been doing the structural assessment. This is the head-to-toe assessment, underwater, above deck, below deck, that had been ongoing for some time. We started this right after the last round of repairs, almost concurrently as we completed the last repair of all the pilings under the pier. This was the next scheduled full assessment that was required. As soon as that was done, we had that information available right around budget time last year, and you may remember where we had been looking at, that report had been recommending about $6 to $7 million of improvements over the next 5 to 7 years. We created CIP 623 and funded that to advance the first phase of that, which is about $3 million of repairs for the urgent repairs. These are 1 to 2 year time frame that need to be done. This is what we explained at study session and commission after that at budget time, but always with the goal that there would be another round of repairs in year 3 to 5 right behind it. So what we're focused on is that 1 to 2 year repair window requirement that we're racing against. And this is for major deck repairs that need to be done to that structure. These remain high priority. The challenge is permitting is lengthy. We have been working through Army Corps, State Water Board, and also Coastal Commission. We've made it through Army Corps and Water Board, where they have no further review and permits are no longer not necessary for that. But Coastal Commission is a lengthy process, often taking upwards of 6 to 12 months and can really vary. Design is at 75%, and we're advancing that as quickly as we can. We've aggressively sought outside funding, but funding is extremely competitive and generally not available for a project like this. But we have, I think, applied for almost a half a dozen different grants for this, but we are going to continue to proceed. While we're doing the design, permitting work, we're also working on a cost-benefit assessment that we are looking to bring to City Council in the coming months to provide a more detailed update on kind of where we are with this repair over the lifespan of the structure. This is built in the 60s, so we want to provide a more detailed update on kind of where we are with this structure and what things look like in the next 10, 20 years. I did also want to give another update. The photo on the bottom, there is a section at the end of the pier that we have temporarily closed off. There are 2 panels that have been on our watch list. There's actually 1 panel that is a high priority replacement that we did notice some changes. We're going to be having a structural engineering team come out. Out of an abundance of caution, we did close this section off. There are a couple locations we're looking to do some temporary repairs, but we're going to be investigating these 2 panels a little more closely to determine whether or not there's a near-term fix that we can do or whether this is going to need to remain fenced off until the full structural repairs are done. But once again, this is an abundance of caution. We don't have any reason to believe that there's any other safety issues on the pier, and we'll continue to monitor conditions. And if needed, we will close them down to protect public safety. But right now, this is the only area that we're watching and will be addressing in the near term.
Any questions? I'll sort of ask a question or a comment. So it seems that this has been going on for a while and it has multiple phases. And I appreciate you looking at the bigger picture when you're talking about the full lifetime in 10 and 20 years. And I'm trying to get a feel for, is this something where we eventually do kind of get caught up for a while, or are we constantly battling the elements? And if I make an analogy with an old car that's fallen apart, does there come a point where it's kind of bad, bad money after good, and someday we bite the bullet and we need a new pier even?
Well, it's a great question, and that's exactly where we're headed with it. And so what we are trying to do is frame where we are with this repair against the grand scheme of things into the future. This pier was built in the 60s. It's not the city's first pier. It's a marine structure, and so there's a lot of salt water and air that doesn't do too well with rebar inside of concrete, and there's a lot of wave action that's out there. And I think that as the structure ages, the frequency of repairs is going to increase. And we will be required to continually do inspections. The inspections will never go away with any pier, whether it's new or old. That will always be there, and repairs will always be there. But what we're trying to do is take a more holistic look at where this repair falls and kind of the lifespan of that structure to provide some more informed information for City Council to consider, especially as we have another repair slated right behind it. And what we want to do is provide more information to the community about where we are, because folks may remember we just finished major repairs in 2024, but again, those were under the pier. Those are really on the pilings. We always knew we'd have to come back to the deck. That was always planned, and here we are. But when we came to budget discussions last year, we were very clear we needed $7 million, and we could only find about $3.5 million to advance those. And so we were not able to advance all the repairs in this phase, and we needed to move quickly on those year 1 to 2 priorities because of the permitting timeline that's really challenging to get through. So even after we do this one, there's another repair just a few years later. So basically, as soon as we finish construction, we'll have to jump right back into design and permitting again, and that cycle will likely continue.
Anyone else?
No, I think it's an important point.
Okay, thank you for that. Anything more?
I think that concludes all of our major updates. And these were the ones that we pulled for significant updates. Of course, we're happy to answer any questions on any of the other projects on the list that we didn't cover.
Yeah, that was a lot of material, but are there any other projects any commissioners want to initiate a discussion, questions on?
I have a question about a non-CIP project, 14th Street.
Yeah, there is a fair amount of work underway, and so that one is being done by City Crews. And so for those that may remember, it was on the CIP. We removed it at budget. We took it in as a maintenance project. We've had block work repair, so concrete repair was done, the blocks on the edges of the building and the walkway leading in. The crew has been actively working on, they have fabricated new frames for the windows, and they're working on some additional concrete work inside so that we can remove the boarded up old windows, rusted windows that were there, replace it with the new louvered windows that are going to be in place. The team has been actively working on replacing the stall separators and then some of the other plumbing work that's in there. We are working to finalize a contract with a roofer that's going to come in and do some additional roofing work on it, and then things like painting and whatnot would follow. So we're probably still going to be under construction for at least through February, is currently the rough target, as we have a few moving parts, but work is actively ongoing.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think that concludes item 14C and all of 14. Last chance? Okay. Then that brings us back to the item that we moved, item 13, future agenda items. Looking to my left and my right, seeing none. So that brings us to item 15, which is adjournment. I don't believe we need a motion to adjourn, is that correct? So
Correct,
I
Chair.
will, so I will adjourn this meeting at 7:13 PM. Thank you and good night.